name is Foster. This is my wife, Lyndsey, and we wanted to take a little bit of time to talk to you about what the journey has meant to us individually and as a couple. I went through the journey about 6 or so years ago in a men's group, and then this last year, Lyndsey and I went through a couples journey group and really saw a different side of the journey. And so that's really what we hope to impart about what that's meant for us and the reason why we've chosen to lead in this new season that we're heading into. So whenever I start thinking about the journey, the one thing that's been different from a curriculum or a Bible study or anything like that is it hasn't been about completing the exams or completing the assignments. It's been about taking time in the Word, taking time to understand how you pray, how you care for those around you, really how you make the Word living in your life. And that's been a big part of the difference between the journey and previous Bible studies, I'll call them, that I've been a part of, is the difference that it went from being an assignment driven to a relationship driven type activity. And for me, that was a big difference, especially as we went into like the first prayer retreat. That's where it really started turning around and started turning into something different. And you know, one of the life verses that really hit me in a season was in Psalms 40:1-3. It says, "I waited patiently for the Lord. He heard my cry for help. He lifted me out of the pit of despair, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on solid ground, and he steadied me as I walked along. He's given me a new song to sing, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see what he's done and be amazed. They will put their trust in the Lord." For me, that verse embodies a lot of the re-encouragement that I felt in the season, but then the journey also capitalized on the learnings that I have in that, and that God knows, God cares, God's willing, God is able. And really in some tough seasons, I found those to be really true, and the journey helped to guide me to those understandings, to those attributes of God that were maybe not as real before. And so going through it as an individual, I learned a lot about myself and my walk, but as we went through as a couple, we ran into a lot of the conflict that we face as a couple and how we work through that, and gave us a lot of tools, at least for me, it gave us a lot of tools to work through that and center us back on the Word. And so those were some things that really stood out for me, is how it wasn't another curriculum, and it wasn't this guide that you go through just to complete. It really was about focusing on your relationship vertically with the Lord. And what it does is it made all the other kind of relationships and the intimacy very much, it made it very easy compared to how it normally was whenever you're focused just on the inverse of that. So I don't know.
So this was my first time going through the journey, and Foster had told me about his experience in the past, and I was honestly a little intimidated from what he had told me about his experience. And so I was nervous at first, but it was such a wonderful experience, and really learning to abide and what that looks like, what that means for us, and what the scripture says about that. The biggest piece for me was talking about God cares, and I had several years of kind of processing through some grief and trauma. We had had a miscarriage early on in our marriage, and I struggled with grief in that, and had gone through other Bible studies during that time and the years afterwards, and still seeking the Lord, but feeling like God was very far away, and that he didn't care, and that he was very indifferent to how I was feeling and what I was going through. And so diving into the Word, especially in Hebrews, it talks about that he is empathetic to our weaknesses and sympathizes with our weaknesses, and just knowing that God cares and is near, and he is wanting to abide with me and to walk through that season with me was extremely helpful for me. So.
Yeah, and the one encouragement that I think would be most helpful as we've talked about that caring part is really understanding the attributes of God. That we spend a lot of time focused on the attributes of God that we may miss just in memorizing a verse or going through that. We dive in deep to really understand who God is and how he intimately cares for each of us. And so our encouragement is to give it a shot. There are 6-week sessions that are intro to journey opportunities. And really, if nothing else, just to go in to see what it's like to take this curriculum and really to apply it to your personal faith journey. Because this is not like reading another devotional or something like that to where the understanding is summarized for you. You're called to dive in and really learn it. And like Lyndsey said, talk about pieces that are applicable to your life, that God cares about what we're going through. He came to earth to go through some of the struggles that we experienced so that he could be a testament to what it's like to come live and overcome the struggles that we have here on earth. And so anyway, it's been dramatically impactful for our relationship, and we think it could be impactful for yours too. So thanks for taking the time to listen. Have a great day.